Hello there, and friends. Welcome back once again to another breakdown of the Bad Batch. I am Scott from BadCuzDad, and today we're taking a look at Episode 7, The Clone Conspiracy. We open the first scene in a familiar place on the sprawling city of Coruscant. Two clones by the nicknames of Cade and Slip are at a bar that's a nice callback to the Episode 2 scene we saw Anakin and Obi-Wan follow Zam Wessel to. They're discreetly sharing a drink, talking about the destruction of Kamino. With the growing narrative of the clones becoming disenfranchised with the Empire, they are facing a grim reality of their decisions. They are bringing into question why Rampart is lying to the Senate about what they did on Kamino. With their conscience getting the better of them, Cade tells Slip that he sent Rampart a warning that if he does not disclose what Rampart ordered on Kamino, that he would. As they leave, Slip pleads with him to just stay out of it, that he's gotta let it go. But just as he's doing so, Cade is gunned down by an assailant sniping from the distance. Slip tries to return fire, but realizes he doesn't have the high ground. If only Anakin had that wherewithal. Slip makes a slick move and jumpstarts a speeder bike and drops off the ledge, mounting the speeder skillfully and begins to flee the scene. The remaining clone patrons at the scene secure the area surrounding Cade as the sniper is briefly seen monitoring the area with his scope before we get a brief glimpse of this masked assailant walking away. This mask is unfamiliar, and it's unclear at this point who this actually is. As we pan to a wide glimpse of Coruscant again, we are shown a place we have not seen for a while. The Senate. Okay, not Palpatine, who is of course the Senate, but the actual Senate meeting is in session, and we find ourselves in the midst of a debate. To no one's surprise, Palpatine's right-hand man, Mas Amedda, and Rampart are in league dredging up a bill that would phase out the clones and institute a galactic-wide conscription effort to build a massive military for the Empire. This is the answer to a big question many viewers now have had for a long while, and a theory that I suspected was the case all along. Fans have often asked and wondered, what happened to all the clones, and where did all the stormtroopers come from? Well, this is how. Carrying out the destruction of the Kamino facility was a way to ensure that the current clones would eventually age out of combat readiness due to their accelerated aging, and simply recruit beings throughout the galaxy en masse. While some senators agree with this bill and fail to see any issue with it, people like Senator Bail Organa and a new face to the mix, Senator Chuchi, find this proposition to be morally wrong. She says that decommissioned clones are not just some droid you can shut off, but rather they deserve a transition out of duty and a way to be taken care of as veterans for the sacrifices they made during the Clone Wars. With many worlds still reeling from the effects of war, Bail Organa and Chuchi note that there are more pressing matters to be addressed instead of building a massive military. As the Senate concludes, Mas Amedda and Rampart are conversing about the hurdle that has fallen before them. Rampart says that while this is an unforeseen delay, he will make sure that Senator Chuchi is appeased to some capacity. But by the time she is waiting for the other provisions for the clones, the defense recruitment bill will already be in place and ready to roll out. Mas Amedda, in classic top-level Empire form, says, "For your sake, it better be." Back at the cantina, Senator Chuchi has arrived to address the group of clones about the happenings at the latest Senate meeting. This is the first time we've ever really seen the clones at a point in time where their future is uncertain. We have to remember that these men were bred only to fight. They never had a childhood, a time to develop an identity, a plan for the future. We're so used to seeing these guys as just action heroes and subconsciously understanding that they have a pretty short shelf life. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Senator Chuchi asks them what happens when you get old. They admit that they've never really thought about any of this because it's never been part of their training. She beautifully says that you fought for us all of these years. Let me, for once, fight for you. Before Chuchi leaves, Slip pulls her aside and reveals to her what really happened on Kamino. Shocked by the news, Senator Chuchi's interest has most definitely been piqued. As Slip slips into the darker reaches of Coruscant, he sends out a call to an unknown recipient. Cody, perhaps? He tells them that he is worried about his safety going forward, and he needs help out. As we return back to the Senate corridors, Rampart and Chuchi are having a discussion, with Chuchi petitioning for Rampart to grant full pension to the clones. Rampart interjects, asking her how she expects to provide that, as well as paying conscripts. She retorts, well, if that's not manageable, then perhaps now is not the time for your recruitment bill. Rampart insists that the insurgencies remain a problem, and the only way to counteract that is to build a stronger military. With hesitancy, Chuchi decides to investigate Slip's accusation, and she asks Rampart how exactly he survived the storm on Camino, if it was in fact so destructive. He merely replies that he was off-world in training, but the tension here is palpable. There is some obvious mental chess going on, as they both know there is something that they are withholding. As Chuchi leaves, she is alerted that a message has come through for her. Senator Organa has organized a private meeting in a low-key place. Organa is on Chuchi's side, and he's a sharp thinker. He's come to determining on his own that things are indeed not what they seem. The rise in revolts against the Empire, the timely and odd destruction of Camino. He knows that the Emperor is getting worried about his new empire being threatened, and believes that there is much more to this than meets the eye. They decided that perhaps the best course of action is to see if they can get Slip to testify. Back at Rampart's office, we learn that he's in league with the mysterious masked assassin. Shocker, right? Informing him that the clone they seek will most likely be where Chuchi is searching. Rampart gives the orders to deal with the clone as well as Chuchi, and to make sure that none of it leads back to him. As Rampart predicted, Chuchi led the assailant right to Slip. She caught him just as he was waiting for his contact to show up and help him get off-world. Chuchi pleads with Slip to testify, but he is clearly shaken about his situation. Before he can continue providing her with information, he is shot and killed. Chuchi and her guards begin to flee, but they are dispatched as Chuchi desperately tries to escape alone. A hooded figure appears as she reaches a dead end, and it's none other than Captain Rex. He dispatches the assailant and unmasks him, revealing that is, surprisingly, another clone. Rex must be on a mission to help his brothers escape, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cody has joined him in this fight. They retreat to the depths of Coruscant, where Rex mentions that a couple of his friends own this garage down here, obviously referring to Ahsoka and her friends, the Martez sisters, seen in later episodes of the Clone Wars. As the assailant wakes up, Rex interrogates him about who he is and what his mission was. He remains silent for a moment until he reveals that he knows who Captain Rex is and that he's fighting the wrong battle. He tells Rex that he is limited, and Rex replies, "What does that make you?" He says, "A believer." And he takes his own life with an oral electrocution equivalent of a cyanide pill. Cue spooky music and roll credits. This episode was to me something straight out of Andor, and I cannot express to you how much I love these high-octane suspense, dark, and gritty episodes. We're so used to seeing the pure spectacle that Star Wars is, with action and cool glow sticks and blasters, but I've got to say, and maybe it's my age talking, I'm loving the tone and cadence these episodes are taking. Like Andor, it makes everything that we would generally see as mundane in this universe and just straight up reverse Uno cards it into a masterful storytelling piece. I also love that we're finally seeing just what happened to the clones and how we eventually ended up with stormtroopers. It's almost as if we always knew, but to see this unfold in such an emotionally dark tone is simply enthralling. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think in the comments, and stay tuned for an episode 8 breakdown in the next day or so. I had no idea we were getting 2 episodes this week, but hey, I'll take it. I am Scott once again from BadCuzDad, and as always, may the Force be with you.